Probably one of the wildest stories I have. I was rehabbing in West Palm Beach in Florida. Manager called me at 9:30 on a Thursday, let's say, said, hey, you got a flight Friday morning at 10 a.m. You're flying to DC. You're meeting up with Fred Nats in Delmarva, and then you're pitching in the game that night. So I get up 6 a.m. on a Friday, go to the facility, pack my things, go to the airport, fly to Delmarva, get a rental car, drive 4 hours to the field, get there in enough time to put my uniform on and play catch at the same time as the starter, and then I'm in the game that night.
How we doing, everybody? We are Two Johns and a Mike.
And here we are back again. Guys, I'm John, that's Michael, and we are Two Johns and a Mike. And boys, we have a incredible session lined up for you guys today. We have our first guest. We'll get into that in a second here. I want to give a little shout out, okay? And I know this is kind of presumptuous. Look, my brother-in-law, Ross Bradley, okay? He is on his way to San Jose, California. And I don't know if you can see this shirt that I have on, guys. It's the CrossFit Games. This dude
there you go.
Breathes muscles, and he's going to compete for the World CrossFit Championship in San Jose on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this coming week. And boys, I'm excited. Maybe Michael, if we edit this, if we can get a short up there and put a link on, I'll send you a link. Sure. So if any of our listeners want to kind of tune in and see. But speaking of muscle-bound freaks, our first guest ever, Mr. Kevin Davis. This guy turns heads in every room he comes into because he's 6'7". He is about 1% body fat. He's jacked. He throws 107 miles an hour. This guy is incredible. We are lucky to have him on the cast today. And Kevin, what an introduction. Here we are. Tell us a little bit about yourself, bud.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me here today. Probably at about, 15% more body fat to that. I'm a little bit chubby. Definitely don't throw 107. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, and let's get into it.
Absolutely, guys. So
welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation that we're in here with Kevin because he just to give you a little bit of background about him, he was recently with the Washington Nationals, got released. What was it, about a week ago, Kevin?
About 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. So selfishly, I'm happy to have my friend back in Illinois. However, we're still working on getting Kevin's shoulder healthy to go back in and get another professional job. But this guy had talent that we've, you rarely see. Upper 90s fastball, in all honesty, when he's healthy, and off-speed mix that can get swings and misses in the major league level for sure. But what our topic is today, Kevin, and why we brought you on is we want to talk a little bit about minor league lifestyle. I think it's something we've been talking about, bringing up for the last few weeks on the podcast, but it's a unique opportunity to have you on this show who is really closely removed from that situation. So, Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a minor league baseball player?
It's a great life. I think I've seen some downsides too. Like I started my first year professionally. I was in independent ball, and that's a pretty true grind. I signed into the Frontier League after the All-Star break. I graduated college in 22 and signed with the Evansville Otters in like mid-July, late July. I think my first paycheck was for about $350. I was living with a host family on a farm, no Wi-Fi, no central air, really great family, great people. But it was a hustle. And so getting into the minor leagues, into affiliate ball and having, pretty livable wage, housing paid for, travel paid for. I signed with the White Sox a week before I turned 26. So getting insurance covered was really nice. I know insurance is pretty expensive, and with, being in a system like that, you're getting really good benefits. You get a 401k set up, you get per diem on the road. Like I said, housing's paid for, you get 2 good meals a day. you're really not spending much money. So the salary that you're getting is basically just all going straight to the bank. And if you're smart with it, you leave the season with pretty solid savings built up, and in the off season you get a little bit of money too. It's not a ton, but you're getting 2 paychecks a month for doing absolutely nothing. So it's a pretty good life, and I enjoyed it a lot.
It's really interesting, Kevin, because we were talking about this just before we jumped on the pod, and it was when I was coming up through the system, it was a completely different world than what you experienced with the class action lawsuit that was set forth by I forget the name of the law group. They weren't through the MLBPA, but they won the case to get back pay for all the guys that were grinding through the minor leagues the way I did. So now you get a year-round salary where you used to just get paid for the months you were there. You get your meals are paid for in the clubhouse. There's no clubhouse dues. You get your housing set up, paid for with the internet and everything else. Travel is all free. You get 2 buses in between affiliates where it used to be 1. So when I was coming up, we got in A-ball, it was $1,100 a month. We had to find our own place to live. We had to pay for all of our food. We had to pay clubhouse dues. And we only got paid that $1,100 a month for the months that we were actually playing. So a completely different atmosphere. That's
a grind.
It was a grind, man. And we had
That's what
5 guys.
Ball is like now.
Exactly. Yeah. Indie ball, which, by the way, I played indie ball as well for half a year. And that was the most fun I ever had playing baseball.
Yeah. And there's some really good ball players there.
Really good ball
players. I remember my first game. I was fresh out of college, thought I was a good ball player, and I get out there and our starter goes 6 innings with 3-pitch mix. He's 92, 95. And then our closer comes in and he's 97 to 100. And I'm sitting there like, where the hell am I?
This is indie ball.
Yeah.
And that's what we just talked about this, but we have this conversation, guys, that guys that so obviously I am a sports agent, and I've talked to some of my clients that, have just recently left affiliated ball or are looking to get into affiliated ball. And I bring up the idea of okay, indie ball is an option. And it's a pretty good, dude, Kevin, you can speak to it. It's a pretty good life, and it's a really good brand of baseball. And you get a lot of these guys I'm not going to play indie ball. Bro, it's there's a lot of guys in that league. They're ex big leaguers. It's a really, really good competitive league. Your low end teams are usually a lot worse than the high end teams. Yeah. However, there's an avenue there, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool experience, and you still get paid.
And winning matters.
For those of us on the sorry, go ahead, guys.
For those of us on the outside looking in, explain what independent ball is. Is that part of the minor leagues? Is it a separate league? Is it the bottom rung of the minor leagues? How does that tie in?
Kevin, go ahead, man. Explain it.
It's its own separate entity. So there are some partner leagues. I don't really know what the semantics are of what makes it a partner league or not.
I think the Frontier League is affiliated with MLB, but it's not an affiliate. You're not with a team. Yeah.
I know the Frontier League's a partner league. I think the Atlantic League's a partner league. The American Association's a partner league. And I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know exactly, like I said, I don't know what the details of that agreement are between the MLB and these independent leagues, but they're privately owned. There's no, basically the way affiliate ball works is the affiliate teams are privately owned, and then all of the workers, the players, the coaches, the training staff, they're all contracted from the major league organization, and they're sent there. And then so, for example, the Birmingham Barons, the people that own the Barons are their own company. They run all of the stadium stuff. They do all of the money making stuff that happens at the stadium, and then they get the players from the White Sox.
Yes.
Whereas the independent teams, they have to find their own players, their own training staff. They take care of all of that stuff, and they also run the stadium and the team and the promotions and all of that.
So it's basically a proving ground or a break area for the.
Yeah, it's almost kind of look at it as almost like a feeder into affiliated baseball. Like if guys want to go play pro ball, so you'll get guys there that are out of college. Like I know Kevin just recently played with one of my clients with the Fredericksburg Nationals. God, what a tongue twister! But LJ Waco, who I signed. Michael, I told you about this kid. I think he's going to be a
Incredible
Disney
story.
story. I think he's going to be a Disney movie one day when he makes it to the big leagues. But he was a D3 baseball player that was a year removed out of college, and all of a sudden I see him pitching in a facility up in Palatine, and I was like, hey, I talked to the guy that runs the facility. He's like, don't let him leave the room. I'm driving up there right now. I want to sign him. So I go up there, I get him, and he's like, I don't know anything about this. We get him to independent ball in the American Association with Sioux City with my buddy Bobby Post. He was there 3 days. He got signed by the Nationals, and then he was playing with Kevin, in Fredericksburg, and now he's climbing up the system. So you look at indie ball, and the opportunities it's there, and especially now that minor leagues are going to be probably scaled down even more. We lost a lot of rookie ball leagues, which I thought was a mistake, because those rookie ball leagues are a really, really good platform for top round draft picks for everybody that is getting their feet wet to develop a little bit and then springboard themselves into full season teams. I thought it was a mistake losing those short season teams. However, at the same time, now they're scaling back all these minor league options, so that even after the CBA next year, there's a chance that we don't have a low A. It might just be A ball, double A, triple A, which is going to lose a lot of jobs. So these guys have to play somewhere and prove themselves, and indie ball is kind of where they go. So the quality of indie ball is only going up.
Hey, I have a quick question. It was kind of blown through. Is there an off-season expectation if you're getting paid year-round?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Kev.
I think it really depends on who you are. I know for the draft picks and the guys that get a lot of money and the guys that are signed to contracts, they'll do camps throughout the off season where teams are calling these guys and saying, hey, we've got this camp we're doing. You've got to come out to our complex for the next 2-3 weeks. In my situation as an undrafted free agent, wasn't much money invested in me. None at all, actually. They just said, be ready March 1. Do what you got to do. So it's pretty much on my own. I've got some good people that I work with. So I think it really just depends on who you are and your situation.
Yeah, they give you programming and stuff like that. I know because I was a part of planning and building out some of that programming when I was in PD with the White Sox. But the big thing that we saw was, like Kevin just said, there are prospect camps throughout the summer, which just essentially made more work for guys like me.
Yeah,
we got to fly out to Arizona and we run like a 2-week strength and conditioning camp or a 2-week velo camp or something like that. It's become more predominant now that clubs have a little bit more hands-on situations with their prospects. It didn't used to be like that when I was coming up, besides for maybe what was it called? Your fall league, right?
Yeah.
Your instructional camp, which I used to run pretty much every year when I was coaching. But that was kind of the extent of it. And then you would filter those guys into the fall league, which was a lot bigger deal back then than it is now, even though it's still a pretty highly prospect latent league. Now they have so many camps throughout the off season for their prospects. They're expected to stay to a certain standard with the programming that we give them. However, it's kind of case dependent, like Kevin just said.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your most interesting experience in the minor league system that is
I know you got stories, Kevin. I know you got stories, baby.
So I was to say something not directly related to baseball, like something you wouldn't have done or encountered, but isn't necessarily baseball oriented. Like
when a guy like Kevin walks into a room, everybody notices. So I know for a fact you've been in situations where you have some stories. There's no way you don't. Especially if you like to have a cocktail at the end of the night.
I've got some really fun stories from when I played in Mexico.
Fire me up. Let's hear them.
Just from this year, though, I lived in 5 different states in 5 months. Probably one of the wildest stories I have from this year. I was rehabbing in West Palm Beach in Florida. Manager called me at 9:30 on a Friday or on a Thursday night, I think. I don't know. The days get all mixed up when you're there. Every day is the same. It's like Groundhog Day. Called me at like 9:30 on a Thursday, let's say. Said, hey, you got a flight Friday morning at 10 a.m. You're flying to DC. You're meeting up with the Fred Nats in Delmarva. We got a rental car for you. You got to drive 4 hours. And then you're pitching in the game that night.
Yep.
So I get up 6 a.m. on a Friday, go to the facility, pack my things, go to the airport, fly to Delmarva, get a rental car, drive 4 hours to the field, get there in enough time to put my uniform on and play catch at the same time as the starter, and then I'm in the game that night.
Wow.
Life of a minor leaguer right there.
Yeah.
That's a perfect depiction of it. And you're expected to shove too.
And you got to make it happen. I come in bases loaded, 1 out.
Yep.
Wow.
Just got to make it happen.
So what you're telling me is that Eastbound and Down was not a comedy series. It was a documentary.
It kind of is.
Yeah, no, look.
A little bit.
I played a full season in Mexico, and what they showed in that show doesn't do it justice.
That's
Those Mexican leagues are a lot of fun, though, man.
It was an unbelievable experience. I was a celebrity there for 6 months. I was making decent money, and I was on league import minimum, like making like an average salary for like an American, but living in Mexico, I did whatever I wanted all the time. We went out to dinner. We would go to the nicest steakhouses in the city. They'd see us walk in, and the guys that I would run around with, it was like 4 American guys. Obviously, me being 6'9", we had another guy that was 6'8". We had a guy that was 6'4", and we had a guy that was 6'3". So we walk into anywhere, and people know who we are and what we're doing. We'd walk into a steakhouse, they're rolling out the red carpet, the owner's coming out, taking us to our table, bringing out, new dishes he's trying. Hey, let me know what you think about these. We're going to airports to fly to a new city to play, and we're sitting in a coffee shop watching our highlights on ESPN. It's crazy. It was really cool.
So you're making minor leagues and these other leagues sound so like spectacular right now. It is a little bit of a grind still, like the travel and everything else. It's
100%.
like it's every day you're at the field. Like I remember my experience as a player. I was showing up at the field at noon, 1 o'clock to get my prep work done, talk to the coaches, go over my videos. Then you get your batting practice around 3 o'clock. And then you have your bullpen. Yeah, somewhere before that, and then you go through batting practice, then you have your pregame prep, and then you have the game that starts at 7. So you're at the field at noon for a 7 o'clock game, and that doesn't include all the travel and all the bullshit that's in the middle.
It's 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yes.
And then your off days are usually travel. Like it's a grind, but
yeah,
if you love doing it, it's the best life I could ever imagine living. Like I love playing baseball. I love being at the yard. I think one of my favorite things is, outside of obviously dominating on the mound and like the feeling of success you get, is like probably the 2 hours right before the game starts. Like that's my favorite thing.
Those are great. I love
the calm before the storm in the clubhouse. Everyone's got their routines. Like if you pay attention to people, they do the same things every single day. Yeah. And it's controlled chaos, and everyone's kind of got their own thing. Everyone's moving around. You got your shower and your food and how people are putting on their uniforms, like what they're doing, what kind of like stretching routine or whatever they're doing. And then you go out to the field, 30 to 40 minutes before you get to watch the starter warm up and how he gets ready, and everybody's out on the line kind of doing their thing. You see the hustle and bustle around the stadium. Like that's my favorite part of the day, the calm before the storm.
Yes. And the build up into the game. Yes. And it's like every game is a new day. It's just, there's so excited to be there.
There's always something new going on. That's why you show up to the yard every day. You never know what you're going to see.
That's the best way to put it, because you never, Kevin, you know as well as I do.
You never know what you're going to see.
You never know. You're going to see something new. You're going to see the same thing you've seen for 1,000 games, and then you're going to see something you've never seen in your life. every single
like
day.
you see something crazy happen on the field or even like
Yes.
in the stands, and you're just like,
What?
What just happened?
I
you got a
am
good
so
one off the top of your
completely
head?
fascinated with like sports in Mexico right now, just because they had on the World Cup, it was Mexico versus England. They do like a wide shot. They do a wide shot of the stadium, and you're looking at the stadium like, where did this thing come from? Because
Yeah.
it's like a stadium, it glows in the night, and there's nothing else there. And then you go into the stadium, it's like 80,000 Mexicans and maybe 50 like English fans, and it's complete mayhem in there.
Oh yeah.
Like England wins 3-2. I was like, are they getting out of the stadium? I don't know what's going on here. And then when you go, well, baseball is fantastic. I was like, I gotta go see a game here.
It's unbelievable. It's a completely different game. I remember, I could send you some videos. Like, obviously, like the in-season games are awesome, and it's the major leagues in Mexico. Like it's the big leagues, and it's just like here. Like you've got your high, your high market teams. Like you go to Mexico City, and I'm pitching in front of 25,000 people in a big league caliber stadium. And then we go back home to the team I was playing for, and we got 6,000 people and a mariachi band behind our dugout that's going from before the first pitch till after the last pitch, whether we're winning the game or losing by 20. They're into it.
Yeah. Dude, how crazy are those fans down there too? Like
It's nonstop. It's a party.
The Latin American countries, dude, the Venezuela, Dominican Republic, if you go to those winter leagues, especially the winter leagues, it's every single pitch is like live or die. And these fans are going bananas. Even like Japan and all those places. Yeah, it's wild.
They're there to party, and then there's a baseball game going on in the background.
Yeah.
So
there's a parallel in music. Like they you'll hear the joke like our band is big in Belgium or something like that. So this is in the 90s. I go here in Chicago. There's a place called the Fireside Bowl. It's literally a bowling alley, and they have like punk shows there.
Yeah, Kevin knows it. Yeah.
It's on like Fullerton Avenue. So I go and I see this band, and the reason I saw them is because they had like a single out, but they were on like a movie soundtrack or something. And so I'm in this dive bar with this bassist, and the bassist is telling me, he's like, well, we just got back from Japan, and we played to like 25,000 people. We're getting ready to walk in the room to go see him play to like 50 dirty punk kids in Chicago.
Yeah.
And Kevin, just so you're aware, the filthy casual John Meadows is actually like a bona fide rock star. He's
really?
Don't you be humble, John.
Tell me about it.
He has groupies. I've met them.
Yes.
Oh, hey, watch out.
Was it not death metal, but it's like a metal band.
Industrial metal.
Industrial metal.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. That's it. And he's a stud, dude. You wear a mask on stage though, don't you?
Yeah, well, people are recognize.
Dude, he's wild, man. You got to see it. It's super cool. He's very talented.
He's been in an on and off again band called Project 44, which is made up of some former players with My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult and with Ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows some pretty big players in the game.
Yeah.
He's played at South by Southwest, and he keeps acting like it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, dude. I'll build you up. Don't worry, Filthy. I got you.
John's always been humble.
Side note, the reason I know Fireside, my dad and my grandfather are both Hall of Fame bowlers, so I've spent a lot of time in bowling alleys. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
How are you?
Wow, that's
Are you pretty good?
fantastic.
I used to bowl in high school. I was a 220 average bowler.
Shut the. Dude, that's sick. I think my best game is 200.
There's not enough money in it for me to pursue it long term.
Dude, funny story. The day before, I think the second last time I went bowling was the day before I blew my elbow out when I was with the Astros.
Oh, it's tough on the forearm.
Well, yeah, apparently it's pretty tough because it cost me a year and a half of my life of rehab.
That's why I have not bowled since high
Anybody
school.
that wants to go bowling beforehand, just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You see that scar? It's not fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but you were talking a bit about the minor league experience or the baseball experience in Mexico, and then you switch to how they go crazy in Japan and stuff. Do they have a minor league system in Japan? And do they send any of their players to these Latin American countries also in the offseason because they have a winter over there too. Do they do the same thing?
I would say the Japanese professional league is probably the second best baseball league in the world behind the MLB.
It is.
There are a lot of I think they get what 4 imports per roster.
Yeah.
And so they'll go and they'll get guys with big league time and they'll pay them a lot of money. I've got a couple friends that are out there playing right now and they're making some really, really good coin, and it's very, very good baseball.
Yeah. Actually, before my second surgery on my elbow, I was supposed to go out to Japan. I was going to play in the Dominican Winter League and then go out to Japan for it was 1 year, $1.5 million or something like that. And I before that had a contract right before I got traded to the Astros with Korea. That was a $1 million contract with incentives up to almost $2 million. They pay really well out there. But yes, to answer your question, Michael, they do have a minor league system in Korea and Japan. I'm not sure about Taiwan. I'm sure they do, but it's a lot worse than here. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Do they send their players in the off season to Latin America like we do?
No. Not usually. So they typically stay in house, and they have leagues over there for the winters as well, I believe. Am I wrong about that, Kevin? I think they have winter leagues out there, don't they?
I don't know much about the professional scene.
Yeah.
But it's very in Japan, sports are very militarized.
Yes.
I actually have a friend of mine from college who moved to Japan. He lives on an island right off of Japan. And he works for the Board of Education there. And his job is he goes around to a different school, a different elementary or high school every day, and coaches baseball. And it's part of their curriculum. When they're young, they basically choose a discipline of some kind of sport or extracurricular activity they want to do, and it's part of their schooling. And so I'm sure once they get into the pro level, it's very similar. I know they have rules.
It's extremely similar, and the running is unreal. The running and throwing, they'll throw 700 throws a day. Have you seen this? Yeah, they warm up. They're throwing the entire. So Kevin and I both do youth baseball programming, right? And we're actually going to be working together moving forward here a little bit with some organizations in the Chicagoland area. However, it's so much different there than it is here. Those guys, to speak to just the workload. These guys in Japan, they're running miles a day, and they are throwing constantly. It's you watch these guys warm up, and they're throwing for. Some of these guys are throwing for an hour before they get on the mound. Am I wrong, Kevin? You've seen these guys before. It's insane, and then they do this every single day.
That's the thing is my buddy that works out there. He was an infielder, very good second baseman in college. But he'll text me and he'll be like, "Hey, they're doing this stuff with throwing." One of the biggest things he's talking to me about is their youth players. They don't use a real baseball. They use I forgot what the name of it is. I can get you the name of it if you're interested.
I think I might have one at my house somewhere.
It's an underload baseball. It's like a 4-ounce ball that they throw, and he's like, all of these kids are having arm issues, and he thinks it's because they use this underload ball. They're able to kind of get away with compensating with poor mechanics, and they don't really do a whole lot of resistance training. So we were working together, putting together some post-throw recovery work that they can do, some body weight resistance training to kind of help build them up and help keep them healthy. And he's been pitching it to the coaches that he works with, and they're kind of eating it up.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I figured there'd be pushback on that because they're so set in their ways. And they've done it for years, and but they've also produced a lot of really high level talent. There's a lot of guys in those Japanese leagues that should be over here that they're just not, because they're making money over there, and they're
making money, and then they also have they have to have a certain amount of I think service time before they can leave that league. They get contracts early, and there's no way to get out of it. That's why that's why it's hard to go. Shohei Ohtani didn't come over here until he was 25, 26 years old.
Well, even Ichiro, and you look at the career Ichiro had. He had 3,000 hits in the major leagues. He had 2,500 hits in the Jet. He's literally he has the most hits in the history of baseball.
Yep.
You look at Pete Rose. We talked about Pete Rose last podcast and why he should be in the Hall of Fame. And because he had 4,100 hits, which will never happen again.
No,
I don't think, because the guys aren't going to play. But you look at what Ichiro did. he couldn't leave Japan because of what Kevin is talking about until a certain age, and then he still had 3,000 hits in America in the major leagues. Like he to me, I'm not trying to kind of segue into talking about Ichiro, but I mean for Christ's sake, the dude is probably the best hitter we've ever seen. He's probably had about 5,500 hits. I have to go back and add it up. He's possibly the best hitter we've ever seen. He was like Tony Gwynn or Pete Rose in Japan and here. And you see these guys, they're able to do it, but a lot of those guys aren't they're not able to cross the barrier because they just don't play long enough in the Japanese leagues because it's very highly competitive.
I don't want to derail this conversation, but since I got 2 pitchers here, I am dying to know this. I may have asked you this before and I forgot, but since I got 2 of you guys here, when it comes to pitching, what is the pitch count you guys get to before like fatigue sets in?
It's case dependent.
Yeah, I'm a reliever. I'm a 1 inning guy. I'll come in for 1 inning, just bring the house down, throw the ball as hard as I can, and then go take a shower. I think there have been a couple times in my career where I've gone like 3 innings. I'll throw I think I had an outing last year, my last one of the year. I threw like 66 pitches over 3 innings. I was gassed. I don't know how starters do it. Yeah, I don't know how starters do it.
Especially those elite guys that are you look at your Jacob Mezrowskis that are throwing 104 miles an hour for 9 innings, or for 6 innings or whatever they have. I know, coming from the player development department with the White Sox and everything else, we had pitch limits on guys. Yeah. But you also you could also see the kind of the rule that we would always follow. If you're above 30 pitches in an inning, you're probably not going to go back out for the next one.
No,
right?
Absolutely not.
And starters, we cap them off. It's gotten less and less depending on who you are and where you are in your development. Like if you get to, I remember in 24 with the Barons, we could not put a guy back out on the mound if he was above 80 pitches after the 6th inning. But if he was below that, we put him out for the 7th. But it was a pretty hard cap right around 100. If we went over 100, I'm getting screamed at by Gets. So we scale it that way. However, there's some wiggle room for if we got a cleanup guy out there, something like that. Yeah. Somebody that's just going, and you let them go. But for me as a coach, I also looked at these guys where I'm like, okay, there's telltale signs of fatigue, and it might happen at 50 pitches. It might happen at 100. You never know, depending on the day and depending on the guy. You just have to be really, really mindful of it as a coach. And if you're not, then that's when you get guys hurt. However, guys they're never going to come in and say they're tired. You just have to kind of look for it.
No, any competitor is going to want to keep going. And I was the same way. My stuff really wouldn't hold after 2 or 3 innings, but I'd go, if I was throwing well after 2 innings, I'm going in there. I'm like, hey, I'm going back out. And they're like, no, you're good for the day. And I'm like, how come? I feel great. I'm shoving. Stuff's playing well. And they're like, you're good. Dude,
I can't tell you how many times I almost got into a fist fight with Drew Thorpe because he didn't want to come out of the game.
How big is the pitching? How big is that bullpen? If you got a guy in the mound, how many pitchers do you have in the bullpen and how many relievers?
So usually you got 13 guys on a staff, 12 to 13, depending on if they decide to carry an extra infielder or utility guy. Because your roster on the minor leagues is, so the major league rosters are 25. They over COVID, I think it was 26 because of the extenuating circumstances. But
26, and then you get the taxi squad. I think you had 40 in the taxi.
Yeah, that was a one-off. That'll never happen again. But it's 25 in the major leagues, so you're either carrying one extra position player or one extra pitcher, and typically it's an extra pitcher because you never know what's going to happen. In the minor leagues, I believe in A-ball, it's 28-man rosters, active rosters.
It's a lot of pitchers in a bullpen in the minor leagues.
Yes,
a lot.
Yeah, and especially when we had rookie ball, when I was coaching rookie ball in Montana, I think we had 30 active guys, and most of them were pitchers because you couldn't, we had guidelines, we had rules. We could only throw you for, this guy's throwing 2 innings every 3rd day, and it was scheduled out.
No back-to-backs.
Well, and if he doesn't make it, then we have to subsidize those innings with guys that are there. And it sucks. I know, Kevin, you're probably grinding your teeth right now because, recently you were one of those guys that was kind of trying to earn your keep. There was no equity.
That's what I loved about playing independent ball and playing in Mexico. We would have six, maybe seven relievers in the bullpen. There were some weeks where I'm throwing 5 games in a week out of the bullpen, and I loved it.
Oh, it's the best.
As a reliever, you have your ups and downs, and when you're throwing one inning at a time, you have one bad inning, it's going to take you a month to kind of get your numbers back right.
Yep.
But when you kind of get on a roll and you find your groove and you kind of get in this flow state, I want to pitch every single day, because when my stuff's clicking, I want to be on the mound. I want to get out there and do it. And I had, when I was in Mexico, I started the year off pretty rough. I was a little bit in over my head. I was pretty young there. And I think a month into the season, I had a 27 ERA. But then I went on this 2 or 3 week stretch where I was throwing every other day, sometimes 5 games a week, and I was shoving. And I went on this 2 or 3 week stretch that really turned my season around. And then I get into the minor leagues and affiliate ball, and it's hey, you threw 2 innings today, you're down for 2 days. I'm like, dude, I need to get back out there. I'm in my spot right now. My stuff's clicking.
Yeah.
Let me go and show it. Let me go and show you I can do this. And it's just not really the same. And that's kind of part of the territory. Like I said, in independent ball, it's more about winning. Winning matters. In the minor leagues, it's more about player development and making sure that we can move to the next stage and eventually get to the major leagues where winning does matter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just catch-22 of where you're playing at.
It's kind of funny you say that, Kevin, because every spring training with the White Sox, and it finally came to fruition a little bit, in 24 when I was with the Barons as the pitching coach, and we always preached winning matters, and then the player development moves would always dictate the opposite. It's okay, well, it doesn't really matter. You have to do this, you have to do that. This guy's going up. Oh, I remember so in 24 we had the best pitching staff in the country.
Unbelievable.
We ended the season with the best ERA in the world, actually. No, just taste myself a little bit there. But in the beginning of the year, it was really easy because we had, our starting rotation was Drew Thorpe, Mason Adams, Jairo Iriarte, Kai Bush, and who was the last guy? We were just laden with studs. And then we had Garrett Shanley and Addison Coffey in the back end, who were the best 2 relievers in baseball that year.
Yeah.
So it was plug and play for me. It was almost like a vacation. However, they decided if they're going to call Drew Thorpe up to the big leagues from Double A, and then Kai Bush, who goes up to the big leagues from Double A. Then they decide they're going to put Tyler Schweitzer, Noah Schultz, everybody else. So we have a completely new pitching staff. Now we have to figure it out again, right? And it's you look at the actual restrictions that you have. All of a sudden, you're asking a lot more out of your bullpen and out of guys like what Kevin was doing with the Nationals and everything. Is we're going to have you throw because winning matters, right? No, not the moves that you made did not dictate what you said in spring training, because winning was not as important as development, which it never is in affiliated ball. But at the same time, you have to play the game to win, because when you do win games, it makes the whole team look better. Because if you're losing, all of a sudden Getz is coming down on us with an iron fist. What the hell is going on down there? Well, we're caught between a rock and a hard place here, because we're trying to figure out a whole new staff of guys, but we still want to win within the guidelines, right? But when you, like Kevin said, when you get into indie ball, Mexico, all these other places, all that matters is win or loss.
Yeah.
However we get there.
Yeah, I was never getting pitching reports in independent ball or Mexico. The only thing that mattered is, did I put up zeros?
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And when you do it down there, they love you.
Oh yeah.
So I'm ignorant at this point, and I need to ask this. So I was under the impression that you moved up. Like I didn't. If you were playing Double A, I was not aware that you can get called into the majors from the Double A's. Oh,
yeah, they do that.
There was just a kid with the Mariners that got called up to the big leagues from High A.
Yeah. Yep.
I think
that's abnormal.
Yeah, it was I think what happened was Randy Rosarena went on the IL like really late, like maybe 2 or 3 hours before the game. And the affiliates were like out of town. They were too far away from where the big league squad was. They needed a guy, so they called the kid up from high A. He went there for a day. I don't think he made an appearance, and then they sent him right back down.
But he's still on the 40, man. That's wild. That's insane. I've never actually heard of anybody being called. That's the first time I've heard that.
First time ever, and it was like extenuating circumstances. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen.
Yeah, more and more guys do actually get called up out of AA these days because a lot of teams, like I know like I keep talking about when I was in PD, but when in 24 we had all of our prospects. They were on that Birmingham Barons team. That's part of the reason that we made the playoffs and won the championship that year. But they start stacking those teams sometimes because the talent level in AA is not that much different from the major leagues. It's just the consistency, right, Kevin? And
yeah, it's basically the age and consistency, I would say.
Yeah, right. So between AA, AAA, they're looking for a better fit with the right coaching staff. And if you're ready, you're ready. And then that's why I was always in constant communication with Ethan Katz and Getz and Matt Zaleski and all these guys that were kind of the brass. And they would ask me, hey, is Drew Thorpe ready? I was like, dude, he's been ready for 2 weeks. Call him up. It's like he doesn't need to go to AAA right now and prove himself in Charlotte, which is one of the hardest parks to pitch in America. Yeah. What if he has a bad game and all of a sudden you're second guessing yourself? No, just call him up. He's ready to go. So that from AA, those calls do happen more often now. Where when I was coming up, it was more like level. You spend a year at each level, and then you get called up from AAA when you're prepared and after you've proven yourself enough. But now it's like, hey, we're going to push these guys, and they come up from AA. It's more of a business now than it ever has been. Guys, any listeners out there, you take a look at us. If you like what our content looks like, please like, subscribe. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on everything, guys. Please like and subscribe if you want to continue to listen to our content. We want as many followers as we can. If you want to see more Kevin Davis, please put some comments in the comment bar. Kevin Davis is only here once in a while, and we are so lucky to have him.
Happy to be here, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a blast.
From the south side of Chicago, the Baron has arrived.